Dustin Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dustin Rider here. Welcome to my review for Power Rangers Ryusoulger Episodes 3 and 4. Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger Episodes 3 and 4. I probably should have put this guy in the green mode because it would make more sense, but I'm just too lazy. Last week I skipped Episode 3's review in my weekly reviews just because I had so many other videos to get out. And by the time I had time to film it, it was about to air Episode 4, so I'm like, you know what, I'll just buddy these up. It would kind of work well together since they're both kind of about Green and Black's debut, even though that's continuing on to next week. But let's go ahead and get started. I wasn't too huge on Episode 3, if I'm being honest. Like, in general, I'm kind of iffy on the show right now. Like, I would still enjoy it. I think it's fine and enjoyable. It's just a little rushed, little, like, basic. It kind of reminds me, I don't remember if I mentioned this Episode 2's review, but I mentioned on Twitter about how it kind of reminds me of Dino Force Brave, for sure. Dino Force Brave in the sense that it's like, they just set up the most basic Sentai concepts possible to just get to the pretty stuff. And don't get me wrong, the visual stuff's really cool, but I just need a little bit more, and I feel like they really rushed the status quo where they're acting like it's really lived in, but it's not, if that makes any sense. And I really felt that in Episode 3 where they're like, you can't hurt Yui, she's our best friend! I'm like, covering your name tag. What's her name? You just met her this morning. Like, obviously they weren't gonna let Ryusoul Black kill an innocent person because they're Sentai people. Sentai people aren't gonna let innocent people be attacked. I don't know why it always has to be about friendship. I feel like people in Toku just in general are really too quick to become friends. I mean, the people on the streets are only my workplace proximity associates. You think they're my friends. They're not my friends, they're just my roommates. Yeah, so that kind of was just, I don't know, way over the top, I thought. Green and Black's introduction in general hasn't been so bad, though. I think I'm actually pleasantly surprised that it's a little bit more of a slow burn. I mean, obviously with them kind of having conflicting ideologies, but I was honestly expecting Episode 3 to be about Green joining and then 4 would be Black, but, I mean, they're leading towards that, but that wasn't an immediate conclusion, which I kind of liked, and seeing a little bit of the different styles and stuff like that. Definitely preferred Episode 4 in general. Like, I liked the idea of, I mean, just to backpedal a little bit, because this involves both, I do think it's interesting that you have them being like, oh yeah, if we take out the human the Minosaur is contracted with, it'll solve it right there. I like that. I mean, I don't think they should do that, but I mean, I feel like it's very rare in Sentai for characters that aren't like some sort of rogue element to come up with a cutthroat strategy like that. I feel like that usually happens in writers, so I think that's interesting. So I do like that. And then I continued this week where he's like, are you gonna kill that kid? And then he closes the door like, no, don't do it. But I think it's also interesting the way the monsters are made with it being tied. I mentioned it kind of reminds me of Rider, with it being tied to a person and their specific motivations or personality traits. I think that's not only a nice mix-up for Sentai, but I think it makes for some interesting aspects of the monster. Like this week, they're like, oh, it's behaving like a parent when they're calling their kid when they're playing. And I don't know, I think it just varies it up in terms of the way the monsters are differentiated. Because usually, you know, you have like, oh, this week monster turns people into muffins. Next week it turns them into bacon. So it's like usually about what the monster does as opposed to some sort of trait or motivation. So I do kind of dig that. And this week was kind of about Red and Green sort of competing a little bit. And you could see them starting to form a rapport and get along. Both Red and Green are kind of on this iffy stage for me where I don't really like them yet, but I don't really hate them, but they kind of teeter on the edge. They could easily fall over to that annoying character thing. I think that Ryusoul Black's probably my favorite right now because he just seems to be over all of it. Like, especially when Red and Green are just like, who could be the most annoying Toku character in each other's faces? And he's just like... So he's my favorite so far, just because I really enjoy his eye roll reactions to just the Toku nonsense. And also, like, even though I don't think that they should immediately take out a person because they've been contracted to a Minosaur or whatever, I do appreciate that, you know, viewpoint conflict. I think that's interesting. I think that would be really interesting to bring up later, where a case might be really far gone. Like, obviously right now they're like trying to cut the tree off, like, you know, cut the trunk and just get rid of any of the problems, which is kind of smart. But I think it would be interesting later if they're in a situation where it's really difficult to defeat a monster or something, or there's a way that it could be achieved by basically that strategy, but it's just, I don't know, I think it has a lot of potential, but I get a feeling it's going to be resolved in the next few episodes in terms of them all being, at least working together in some degree. But at the moment I appreciate the conflict with that. And also we got, you know, introduced to Tiger Lance, and they're like, oh, that's interesting that the other three are deciding to befriend theirs instead of tame them. Maybe we should, you know, employ that strategy. And Tiramigo helps them get Sabretooth out. And I really like that one. I think the suit like the Megazord suit looks a little bit better in show than, not that it's an awful suit, but just I wasn't a huge fan of it in the toy. But I really like the Tiger Lance individual, like just mecha. I think that's really cool. I dig it a lot. And I feel like I missed a line, if anybody knows, but I was trying to think if there was a part where they explained why Tiger Lance and Mill Needle are kind of hidden somewhere else. Like, obviously, when their factions broke off from the Night Tribe, they probably took them with them, but why wouldn't they just stay with all the people that became Green and Black Knights and just be hidden? I feel like maybe I missed a line. That just seemed kind of weird. But, you know, we got Tiger Lance this week, and then we were segueing into Mill Needle. So, again, I like that they're at least taking their time a little bit with Green and Black. Like I said, I expected things to be happening a lot sooner with that, with how rushed everything else is. But yeah, overall, I wasn't too huge on episode 3. I'd probably give like a 6.5, but I'd give this week's a 7. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. Like I said, overall, I still find the show to be enjoyable to watch. Like, it's not like Geo where I'm pulling my hair out in some scenes. It's just a little bit clunky, a little bit basic. The only other kind of nitpick I have is that I wish there was a little bit more to the ability souls. Like, in the first episode or the second, they could have explained, like, oh, you have all these in your arsenal. Some of these you know, some of them you don't. And I feel like it would give context to them, just like, here's this, buy it. Like, it just feels... It's not like I need a huge introductory episode for everyone, but I feel like in series like Q-Ranger, there was at least cases where they'd be like, oh, well, we're facing this problem. Maybe this might be a good Q-Tama for this, instead of like, here, buy it. I just wanted to bring that up because it's bothering me. But anyway, hopefully I'll be back on track. But as always, I'll, you know, buddy up if I need to, if there's a lot of toy reviews to get out. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell for notifications for all my videos. Until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.